Fest is back. The 2-day rock and roll party leading up to the original Kiss cruise will be on October 27th and 28th in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. Proudly brought to you by Kiss Rum, Kiss Cold Gin, and Yamaha. Day 1 festivities will be a Bon Voyage party held at the host hotel, the Doubletree in San Pedro, hosted by the one and only DJ Noise. Party with your fellow cruisers while Noise spins the tunes and mingle with our special musical guests. Then stay for the Cruise Fest Comedy, Punchlines and Backlines comedy show produced and hosted by Courtney Cronin-Dole. Featuring one of Hollywood's funniest rock and roll comedians, plus a Kiss Army fan favorite headliner and a special guest rock star doing their first stand-up comedy set. Day 2 features a 5-band live show at the historic Yost Theater featuring tribute bands Fair Warning and Dress to Kill, along with the Iron Maidens and headliners Slaughter. Plus, a special performance by the original members of Fraley's Comet, Todd Howarth, John Regan, and world-renowned drummer Anton Fig. All this, plus charity raffles generously sponsored by Sixth Man. Don't miss this exciting event. Start your rock and roll vacation off at the only party in town, Cruise Fest. That's Cruise Fest with a K.
My friends, and welcome to episode 72 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudius Pera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
So for this fan profile, we are joined by the host of the Rock Experience. Kiss Army, help us welcome Kiss fan and podcaster, Mike Brunn. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to do this. I love what you guys do with the show here, how you highlight different fans. It's an honor to be here with you guys today.
Thank you. So, Mike, I'm sorry, but we can't start the show without telling the story of how we met.
I love it.
Now, you saw this coming, right? You saw this coming.
What is this?
Absolutely. This is a good story.
What is this?
Okay. Try to listen to this. So I met Mike years ago at the New Jersey Kiss Expo when Peter Criss was there. And I believe all he did was meet and greets all day long. It was an amazing experience. You were with him for 20 minutes. He was there till about 1:30 in the morning that day.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Because he gave every fan 20 minutes each, My booking time, I got there I saw him at 9:30 at night, way after the expo was closed. But anyway, so we're at the expo and we're in the lobby and I'm with this guy that's in front of us right now. I didn't know him at the time, right? And Peter Criss goes to the washroom. So then it's like, I'm waiting outside the washroom for Peter to come out with my camera. So Peter comes out of the washroom and I'm filming Peter coming out of the washroom. And then Mike's daughter, Courtney, starts giving me living hell.
And she's like 12 years old.
Yeah, she's giving me hell. This little kid giving me hell. What are you doing? That's just creepy. It's inappropriate. Why are you filming people coming out of the bathroom? And we just had this huge discussion about, we're Kiss fans. This is what we do. We're Kiss fans, but you don't take pictures of people coming out of the bathroom.
Oh my goodness.
And it didn't help. That I told him afterwards that I met Ken Kelly at the urinal at the same expo.
Okay.
Hey, Ken, nice to meet you. Looking forward to going to your table. We're at the urinal doing our thing. Hey, thanks. And every time I see Courtney, Mike, I always tell that story. It's like,
absolutely.
Oh, that story again.
She remembers.
No, she totally remembers. But Pascal, if you remember this, we actually just started hanging out and talking on the line, and then you and my daughter went there was like a room off on the side. Like we waiting online to meet Peter. And you and my daughter were off on the side, like playing with rubber bands. And you went like halfway across the room and you tell her, shoot this rubber band at me. And she aims and nailed you right between the eyes.
No,
that's right.
You're 75 feet away, bang, right between the eyes. And we were all just hysterical laughing, having a great time. So what started off as like my daughter, which is typical for her, 12 years old, being like, how can you do that? It just ended up hanging out, having a great time.
Oh, yeah.
All hours of the night until Peter finally met with us.
Absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely, and that's the beauty of these KISS events, right? It's Mike, it's meeting people like you and Courtney and just having a great time. And when we look back at these events, we think about the people we met, not necessarily the event itself.
I agree,
Exactly.
100%.
I think anyway.
100%.
Exactly. Well, what a nice story. I love it. I love it. Hey, Mike, such an honor to have you here with us. Give us your time. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's jump into the first question. So your show, the Rock Experience, is not just about KISS, okay, but about music in general.
Yes.
So can you tell us, are you a music fan first or a KISS fan first?
Oof. Oh man, what a way to start. I'll say this, KISS was the first band I ever loved. I got into them as a kid. I've seen KISS more times than any other band in concert. I have more KISS albums and KISS bootleg tapes than any other band. So first and foremost, I guess I'll always be a KISS fan. But if I only listened to KISS, that would be pretty boring in my mind. KISS is my number one and it always will be. Mm-hmm. But how could I only listen to KISS? So I love music and I like all different types of music, not just hard rock, although that's largely what I listen to. But I guess I'll say I'm a KISS fan first, since that came first. But if you took away all the other music, man, life would be boring as anything to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned, so let me ask you, how did you get into KISS?
Oh, man, this is a good story. 1976, the summer of 76, we had a family friend who had a son that was about 2 years older than me. And I was sleeping over his house. And he had a KISS Destroyer poster hanging in his room. He was probably like 8 or 9 years old. I'm 6. And all day long, we're hanging out the house. Now, I don't know who KISS is. I just see this poster and I'm mesmerized by it. But I'm also a little scared of it at 6 years old. You got the guys up on the rocks, Gene Simmons with the arm up. I'm like, gee, I don't know if I'm like totally like drawn in or if I'm going to be sleeping with one eye open because this scares the crap out of me. Right? So, but all I know is whatever it was on that poster interested me. And I don't know if I realized they were a musical band yet. Mm-hmm. About 2 months later, my mom, who listened to the radio a lot when I was growing up, hears Calling Dr. Love on the radio, and she records it for me because she knows I'm talking about this poster all the time. So Calling Dr. Love was the first KISS song I ever knew and will always have a special place in my heart for that reason. I remember my mom having it on the tape. And then probably about a month or so later, a friend of hers takes us to a record store and it's like, you guys, it was me, my brother, and her 2 kids. We're all 6, 7, 8 years old, like in that range. You guys could buy a 45 each. And for everybody who's our age, we know 45 is a single, one song on it. Yeah. Not my 6-year-old self. No, I need Rock and Roll Over. Okay, not the Dr. Love 45. I need the album Rock and Roll Over. And I'm 6 years old and I'm going to be relentless until my mother's friend, poor woman, buys me the album instead of the 45. I tells my mother, hey, you owe me $7. Your son bought an album, not a 45. That was my first KISS album. And from that moment on, I saw KISS in 79 for the first time in concert. My parents, God bless them, took me to Madison Square Garden when I was so young.
That was your first show at the at Madison?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dynasty Tour, 1970, July 25th, 1979. Wow. And I remember the concert like it was yesterday. I remember where I was sitting. I remember the band coming from underneath the stage. I remember when the Dynasty logo bootleg surfaced in the 80s and I saw it. I'm like, yes, that's my memory. Yes.
Wow.
And I remember that opening note of King of the Nighttime World like it was yesterday. And it just, Kiss has been with me for 40 years now since then. There was one twice where my fandom waved a little bit, but otherwise over the 40 years, I mean, that's been my band. Always there.
Good story. Love it.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Mike, we talked earlier about how we met at the Kiss Expo. Can you take us through some of your Kiss-related experiences that you've been to?
Yeah, I mean, that's to me one of the greatest things about being a Kiss fan. And Pascal, you said at the top of this, it's not only just going to a Kiss event, but it's the people you meet.
Yeah.
And, like I just said, I saw Kiss for the first time in 79. I've seen them 75 or 80 times in concert since then. And what I love is running into people, meeting them. I think you and I, Pascal, met at Saratoga Springs in 2018 or 19. We took a picture, hung out and spoke a little bit. Yeah. But it's going to those concerts. It's seeing Paul in 1989 at L'Amour's, Ace, Peter, countless times solo, Bruce solo shows. I've met every member of the band except for Eric Carr. Too bad. Going to the Vinnie Vincent private events, the Gene Simmons Vault experiences. I went to 4 of them. I've been going to Kiss Expos since the 1980s, traveling around the world, first as a fan, then as a dealer, and then again as a fan going to the expos. And it's just all of those memories to me are sometimes better than the songs. And that's not to discount the songs, but, all of those experiences is just something I will look back when I'm 67 years old and say, that's the cool. I mean, look about what we're doing here. I'm based in New York. You guys are in Montreal. Pascal, I would have never known you if it wasn't for Kiss, right?
Yeah.
And earlier this week, I had on my podcast, Alan, who lives in Japan. I know he's been on your show, I believe. Yeah. And Per, who's based out of Sweden. And the 3 of us are just talking Kiss. And I'm like, we've got somebody from the Asia Pacific region. We got somebody from the European region. We got somebody from the North America region, all coming together for Kiss. Yeah. And that's, to me, the great part about all these experiences is meeting all these incredible, wonderful fans from around the world.
Absolutely. It gives so much sense to life, right? Because this is passion, passion.
Agreed. Yep.
No, I often have a discussion with my girlfriend. She tells me, how can you live as being in such high debt? You should have paid off your condo 4 years ago. And I go, I use my condo as a credit card because these are my experiences. I'm living experiences. And the great thing about being a Kiss fan is it affords me opportunities for these amazing experiences with amazing people. That's priceless.
Yes, I agree with you, Pascal. I've sold off a lot of the stuff that I was holding on to, Kiss color forms and things like that, because I realized as I got older, it was about the experiences. Yeah. And I now say I collect memories. Exactly. And that to me is far more important than a Kiss doll on a shelf, because my room used to look a lot like yours in the background. And as I get older, I'm just like, the memories and these experiences are unlike anything you've experienced in my mind with any other band. No other band has all these different expos and private events and things like that. That's what makes Kiss the greatest to me.
And actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, because memories are priceless. You can put a price to an item, but you can never put a price to a memory. Never.
Well said. I love it. Well said.
So, Mike, as our listeners know, we are proud supporters of the Cruise Fest. What are some of your experiences with that event?
Wow, let me start with this. Joe and his team do such an incredible job with Cruise Fest. I'm going to actually be talking with Joe on my show next week, and I always support Cruise Fest because, think about this. We go on the cruise as fans, and I know after 5 days, I always say, I'm exhausted. I need a vacation from my vacation. Yeah. Well, before that, these guys are coordinating an entire event for us. That's usually over a couple of days, working their butts off, putting on a great experience for the fans that in of itself I would be exhausted on, and I've been to the one where Vinnie Vincent was there with 4 by Fate, and that was incredible. I was at the one where Ace Frehley played with Return of the Comet. I mean, it's always top-notch experiences, and to all of those guys, it's just an incredible job they do. I look forward to talking to Joe next week about this year's. And it's something I could never do before I start a Kiss cruise and go on vacation. I'd be freaking too tired. I would end up skipping the cruise because I'd be too tired from what they do. So my hat's off to them. Amazing job they do all the time.
No, Claudio and I have the honor and the privilege of helping Joe out as organizers. Nice. Because again, we're both going on the Kiss cruise after a long period of time, and now we're seeing firsthand the amount of work that goes into
Unbelievable.
This. Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
Yeah, I could only imagine, because I've never tried to do anything like that. And again, my hat off to you guys as well then for supporting that. It's it's an amazing thing that what they do, and it's, you know, by the fans for the fans, like they say, and it's always an A+ experience. I love it, absolutely love it.
Absolutely, well said. Mike, we know that you interviewed Paul Stanley on your show, but we're gonna touch on that later on.
Sure.
But can you tell us about some of your experiences meeting the members of KISS?
Yeah, you know, I've been very lucky. The first member of KISS I ever met was 88 Ace Frehley.
Okay.
And honestly, that wasn't the best experience in the world. He was drunk and his band was great, but you know, I remember leaving that being a little disappointed. But over the years, I've met every single member except for Eric Carr, which always hurts and pains me because in the 80s, Eric Carr was my favorite guy. Paul Stanley was KISS in my mind, but Eric Carr was my guy. He just seemed like one of us. And it always breaks my heart that I never had a chance to meet him. Hopefully one day up there I will. But
there you go, for sure.
The experiences meeting the guys have always been, except for that time, like I said, when I met Ace, great experiences. And it goes back to what I was saying before about collecting memories. And that's what this has become all about to me, which is why I love doing the meet and greets and the vault experiences. I've done the Vinnie Vincent private events. And I get that some of these things are not for everybody. I totally get that. You know, people might say, oh, $500 to do a Vinnie Vincent event for a weekend is too much money. I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. I had a great time on it, though. I'll be honest. I'd rather sell off my collectibles than do it, though. So my experience meeting the guys have been excellent. Bruce, always top notch. I mean, how can anybody say anything but what an amazing guy Bruce is? And Peter Criss has been, you know, Pascal was saying it before when we met him. Just absolutely incredible every time I've met him 5 or 6 times. Absolutely incredible every time. So nothing but great things to say about all the guys, actually.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So besides KISS, what are some of your other musical interests?
Boy, you know, there's the obvious, obviously, Black Sabbath and all the 80s bands that I grew up with. You know, those things are the obvious choices. But, you know, probably my second favorite band, believe it or not, people are going to be like, what? He's nuts. And probably stop watching my show after I say this. Weezer. I love Weezer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love Weezer.
Okay.
I love the Sex Pistols. I went to in fact, I often say this, my number one concert I've ever been to was the Sex Pistols reunion in New York City in 1996, which was about 10 days after seeing KISS. And again, people think I'm nuts, but I mean, the energy in that room, I love the Sex Pistols, absolutely love them. But then I also love stuff like No Doubt in the 90s, was a big No Doubt fan. I love Jewel. Jewel, I think, is an amazing singer, one of my favorite female voices ever. But then I love bands like My Chemical Romance, which is newer. Here, I'll put it to you this way. In the next week, I'm going to see 3 concerts. Saturday night, I'm going to see the Goo Goo Dolls, which I got into in the 80s when they were a punk rock band. And if you don't know that, check out their first 2 albums. It sounds nothing at all like the hits that you ever heard on the radio, okay? And I was into punk rock. Then a few days later, I'm going to see My Chemical Romance. And a few days later after that, I'm going to see Blondie. So there you have it.
Very diverse.
Yeah. But again, and you know what? In the 80s, I was blessed. I saw Madonna in 1985 in concert. I saw Prince on the Purple Rain tour. I saw George Michael. I think I was the only person growing up that would one moment listen to Number of the Beast, take it off, and then put on the Like a Virgin album. That's what I did. And I saw nothing wrong with it. I loved it. I loved it.
I love that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you a big Michael Jackson fan too, or you are not so much on Michael?
You know, I was never a big Michael Jackson fan, but saying that, I would have been deaf, dumb, and blind if I ignored the talent. That was the, you know, and of course I had Thriller, who didn't. I think every person on the planet owned the Thriller album, but I was never a big fan. And then as life went on and we heard some of the other things, I was glad I wasn't a big fan, but putting that to the side, there's no doubt the man had an enormous talent, unlike many people before or since have had. So I can't deny it. It's just, you know, maybe something like You Want to Be Starting Something is a good song, but I'm not a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Okay. I love what you said about putting the Number of the Beast and then Like a Virgin. That's awesome.
It's not a lie. Seriously, my bedroom growing up as a kid, I had, you know, heavy metal posters, rock posters all over, and then a Madonna poster off on one wall also. It wasn't because I liked the way she looked in the bathing suit. It was because I loved the music also. It was weird. People didn't understand it. It's not like now that we're older, so many people listen to all different types of music. But when I was in high school and it was 1985, 86, 87, people were like, you're going to see Madonna? what's wrong with you? You know,
back then.
But that's the way I was.
It's really incredible how, talking to Kiss fans, we have so much in common.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I also my interest in Kiss waned in the early '80s. My interest, I loved Van Halen and Def Leppard, bands like that. But I went to see Whitney Houston.
Nice.
Roxette, Celine Dion.
Okay.
Nice. And it's it's not just about Kiss or hard rock. It's about exploring different types of music, and I think that's amazing.
I often say this. One of my Desert Island albums is Survivor Vital Signs. I think it's a perfect pop album. Love it. 9 songs on it, and every one of them is just perfect pop music. The Summer of '69, Bryan Adams, one of the best songs ever written in my mind. I love that type of stuff. It doesn't only have to be, Run to the Hills,
Exactly.
Metallica or whatever. No. So Pascal, you said you got out of Kiss in the early '80s. When was it? Because I got out of them in '82, actually.
That's about right for me as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. I remember they came to Montreal for the Creatures, and I saw the marquee with Kiss, and I didn't go. Wow. But deep inside, I was still interested in the band. Every time I go to a record store, I go through the Kiss section, see what new albums came out. I remember seeing The Elder, going, "What is this? This is a Kiss album?" And I just got back into Kiss in '89 when I heard "Hide Your Heart."
Oh wow! Okay, interesting. No, you see, I got out of that. I stayed for Dynasty. I stayed for The Elder. And then at Creatures of the Night, something about the album at 12 years old didn't connect with me, which is nuts when I think about it now. But okay, something about I Still Love You drove me crazy. Now I love the song, but at that time I was like, no. But the Odyssey and the Oath didn't drive me crazy for some reason, but I Still Love You did. And I lost my interest in Kiss. But then when they took the makeup off, I'm like, oh, let me check it out. And I thought Look It Up was incredible, and I was back in again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so it didn't take long for you to come back.
No, I was out for like 12 months, maybe.
Oh, okay.
That's a little break.
It was like just one album cycle. And I did buy Creatures of the Night, but I didn't play it at all. I was like, ooh, no, I don't like this, which again is just nuts because it's a great album. But I tuned out at that point for about a year. And then again in 2002, 2003-ish time period, I tuned out for like 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is that in the US, the popularity of Kiss during that era was actually going down pretty fast, right? So they were not popular at all.
No, in fact, the Creatures tour, they didn't even play anywhere near New York City on that tour, which just blows my mind. But oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I was so looking forward to this question now, because more than a question, it's a game, okay? And we would love to have your answers, okay?
Okay.
So before we get into discussing your show more in depth, we want to kind of play a game called Best and Worst.
Okay.
So I'll focus on Kiss in general, and Pask, where he will do the same on your experiences.
Perfect.
So for each question, the game is tell us why or why not. Okay, we're going to go with the first one. Mm-hmm. So best album, worst album.
Best album. All right, I go back and forth on 2 right now. It's always between these 2, Rock and Roll Over and Hotter Than Hell. And I go, Rock and Roll Over is where my fandom started, like I said before. Hotter Than Hell is so damn, both of them are just like perfect Kiss albums to me. Today, since you asked me to pick a favorite, I'll go Rock and Roll Over. That's the one that's been my favorite the longest. Okay. I'll go Rock and Roll Over.
Okay.
And worst. Again, it's a toss-up between 2 for me. And I know I'm going to get some flack for this answer, the first part of it.
It doesn't matter. We're going to get it anyways.
I was never a fan of the Asylum album. So it's a toss-up for me between Asylum and Sonic Boom. Both of them, to me, have 2 songs that are great. Asylum, it's Tears Are Falling and Who Wants to Be Lonely. Sonic Boom, I love Modern Day Delilah and Say Yeah. But the rest of both of those albums are throwaways to me. I'm sorry. I just...
Well, I'm with you. If you
good.
were to ask me, I would pick Asylum.
Really? Oh, that's interesting, because so many people that grew up in the 80s loving Kiss, like I did, love Asylum. And I'll be honest, 3 weeks ago I went running and I played Asylum. So probably the one I would, if I have to go back in the corner, I'd probably say Sonic Boom is my least favorite Kiss album.
Okay. Now let's go to best song, worst song.
Well, let's start with worst song because that's easy for me. That is so easy for me. Boomerang is horrible. It's a train wreck. Oh my God, I can't stomach that song. We were talking about all the different music I like, and people ask me, what do I look for in a song? And I'm always like, a hook, just something that good melody, a hook.
Right.
Boomerang's a train wreck to me. I never hear a hook. I can't stomach that song. So that's easy. Best song.
Calling Dr. Love.
Black Diamond is, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I was saying that maybe you were going to say Calling Dr. Love because that's what got you into Kiss. But
it's my top 20. It's definitely in my top 20. But I would say Black Diamond. Now, had we done this in 1988 or 89, my answer would have been one that most Kiss fans didn't even know at that time, which was Coming Home. I love that song for decades. And I remember in 95, because I was a big bootleg collector, and hearing that they did part of Coming Home acoustic overseas in Australia. And I was like, I got to find this tape. They're never going to play this song again live. This is my favorite Kiss song. Of course, we now know that they do it every single acoustic show. They open up with it. Yeah. But that has always been one of my all-time favorite Kiss songs. But, I mean, Black Diamond, Deuce, I Still Love. But I'll go Black Diamond. It's just incredible.
Okay. Well, I'm quite the same with you. I think Coming Home, the version from the Unplugged, it's one of the best ever.
Agreed.
How does it sound?
They took one of my favorite songs and somehow made it even better on MTV Unplugged, which I was so against when they announced they were going to do that. Yeah. And then they released it. I'm like, this is freaking great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Well, this is good. This is a good one. Okay. Best lineup and worst lineup.
Well, best lineup, to me, it has to be the original lineup. Okay. Now, if you ask me, I grew up with the lineup in the 80s, and that was by far the most fun for me. But if I'm looking at it objectively, it all started with those original four guys. There's so many classic songs. I've got to say the original lineup is the best lineup. Okay. Worst, I'm going to go with the Tommy Thayer, Peter Criss lineup in 2003. It's one of the times I tuned out a little bit. And Tommy wasn't comfortable in the band, I don't think, yet. And Peter's skills had certainly deteriorated a bit at that point. So that's probably, I won't even count the Mark St. John lineup because that was 2.5 shows only. Okay. So I'll say, Tommy and Peter lineup.
And Peter. Okay. Best era, worst era.
I guess if we're going to say era, right? So I said best lineup was the 70s, but to kind of piggyback off what I said before, the best era has to be the 80s. I had so much fun as a Kiss fan in the 80s. Every September, there was a new Kiss album coming out. Right when I was going back to school, here comes a new Kiss album. They were all over TV shows, and they weren't the biggest band in the world, but to me, they were, and it was just so exciting. I'll be honest, the last 10 years also is very exciting with cruises and all different things they do.
Yeah, so many things.
But that era in the 80s was just, I guess, being a teenager, it's hard to top that. Exactly. It's hard to top that for me as a fan, Yeah. And my least favorite era, probably right after the reunion broke up, in that early 2000s time period. It was just that 2000 to 2007, 8, the band was largely dormant, wasn't doing a whole lot. I did not like that tour with Aerosmith. Didn't like that at all.
2003.
There was there was no new music coming out. It was just kind of, I was not a big fan of Gene Simmons' Family Jewels show, although I think it was important to their legacy and kept the bands, in the public eye. But there wasn't a lot to get excited about during that time as a fan.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Fair enough. No. Yeah. And then the last one, it's best costumes and worst costumes.
Best costumes has to be Love Gun. Those things they're so iconic to me. I love those costumes. Worst costumes. Well, I'm not going to count Asylum. Those aren't really costumes. You knew what I was going to say. There you go. You knew exactly what I was going to say. I don't mind the look of Asylum. As much as I just said that I don't love the album, it was a sign of the times. And it is what it is. It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you the outfits I don't love is the Elder Creature era. And Creatures is such a powerful album. And I dislike Ace's costume with the lightning bolt going down. It's so bland to me, you know, compared to some of the outfits that they had in the 70s. So I'll go with that Elder/Creatures era.
And the short hair, you know.
Yeah, the pole with the bandana just doesn't do a lot for me, that whole look.
Good. All right. Awesome. I loved it.
Okay, so now we'll continue the game, and our focus now will be on your experiences.
All right.
So first one, best expo, worst expo.
Well, all expos were good. How about that? But I mean, I've never been to a bad expo, but the best one, boy, it's tough to top that 2018 Atlanta when Vinnie Vincent kind of showed up for the first time in 20 plus years. That was electric, that place that weekend. And first it was, is he or is he not going to show? Then once he did show, you know, just there was an energy in that room that was really unmatched, in my opinion, since like those 80s expos, which I used to love those. I used to love going to the expos in the 80s and running in and seeing what bootleg is going to be uncovered this year that we're going to see. But that 2018 Atlanta Vinnie Vincent one.
Are you a big Vinnie Vincent fan?
You know what? I love what he did with Kiss.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think he's an amazing songwriter. I've told him this to his face. I don't love all the crazy guitar playing.
The shredding.
The shredding. I like it for 5 minutes. And then I'm like, all right, now let's hear a song.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
That's me. And I've told him that I think his songwriting is amazing. I think the Lick It Up album and the songwriting he's done on that is amazing. It's no coincidence that Revenge was a great album when he came back and did some songwriting. His solo stuff, I love his second solo album because there's not as many, you know, crazy guitar licks all over the place. The first one is good, but not as good as the second one to me. So yeah, that's my Vinnie Vincent thing. But worst expo, right, Pascal? You want me to say worst expo?
Or maybe least favorite.
Least favorite.
That's it.
Probably Cleveland's in 97-ish, I guess it was, or 98, somewhere around there. The year before, they had packed like 2,000 people into the first Cleveland Kiss Expo. I didn't go to that one. I went to the second one, and it was a ghost town. And think back to what we were saying before about, you know, the experience of just meeting people and all of that. I'm going to say there wasn't more than 100, 150 people there. And this is, you know, during the peak when expos would, you know, normally draw a lot of people. So that's probably my least favorite. It wasn't bad. I still had a good time, but it was probably my least favorite.
Okay. Best Kiss Cruise, worst Kiss Cruise, or again, least favorite Kiss Cruise.
Kiss Cruise 3, when they did the Oath. Oh my God.
We were
I
there.
remember that. Yes, I was there. So as you guys know, they play 2 nights. You only get to go to one. And I went to the second night. So the first night I'm watching on the screen in the atrium, and Stanley starts announcing, hey, you know, we're going to do one right now from an album nobody ever bought. And I'm like, nah, this can't be. Only you guys on the boat notice. I'm like, no way. No, this is going to end up being like from Rock and Roll Over because he always gets the albums wrong or something like that. And then he starts the riff for the Oath. And I'm like, oh my God. And the place was just electric. That's an incredible moment I will never forget as long as I live. But then saying that, and I know I'm giving you a long answer this past, sorry, but
please.
Kiss Cruise 5, that sail away show was freaking amazing. They did Demon Youth, they did Ladies Room, Mr. Speed, Strange Ways. And that's what I love about the cruise when they do all these deep cuts. And now I'm going to give you a third answer. Kiss Cruise 8, the first night, Kiss Unplugged, followed by Ace Frehley, followed by Bruce Kulick. That might be the best night of music I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
So, you know, all three of those for different reasons have to be right up there. But that night on Kiss Cruise 8, the 3 bands back to back, that's going to be tough to beat ever for anybody in my life.
Well, that's history in itself. You know, it's
Exactly.
unbelievable.
Exactly. So there's my non-committal answer where I give you 3 answers.
Do you have a least favorite cruise?
Probably Kiss Cruise 4. Because think about what I just said about like the songs I'm rattling off that they did. And on Kiss Cruise 4, they did, for all intents and purposes, a standard set list. There was a few, I don't want to say deep cuts, but maybe something like Plastic Cast that they do usually acoustic. They did it electric. I think Psycho Circus was one of the deep cuts. And it's just like, I went on a cruise to hear Ladies Room, Room Service, Anything for My Baby, not to hear standard songs. Right. So probably for me, Kiss Cruise 4 would have been my least favorite.
Okay. Best concert, worst concert.
You want Kiss, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 79, my first show as a kid. That just leaves such an impression in my mind. But if those Kiss Cruise shows I just rattled off have to be right up there. You know, I am so glad, I'll say this. When Eric and Tommy first came into the band wearing the makeup, I was out.
Oh, yeah.
I was not into it at all. I was against them wearing the makeup. And then I decided, you know what? I'm a Kiss fan because of the music, not because of the makeup. The makeup's cool. It's fun. But the songs are just incredible. I am so glad I came back in because some of those shows that I've seen on the cruise and even otherwise, I would have missed out on. And some of those Kiss Cruise shows are the best shows I've ever seen with some of these deep cuts. So either my 79 show or some of those Kiss Cruise shows have to be right up there for me.
And least favorite?
2003 with Aerosmith.
Right.
In fact, I wasn't even going to, because again, I had checked out and friends of mine were going and they called me like the day of. I'm like, oh, do you want to come with us? I'm like, nah. They're like, how can you say no to seeing Kiss? I'm like, they're playing with Aerosmith. They're both going to play 75 minutes. I don't like Tommy in the band. Nah. And then they convinced me to go. And it was Aerosmith wasn't that good that night, in my opinion, and neither was Kiss. And this was Madison Square Garden. And I was like, man, that's disappointing. That's probably my least favorite.
Yeah. Pascal, let me just give my comments because I don't want to let this go. I like so much the way you reply to the questions because you can tell that you're a real music fan. You talk about the music all the time. Because Kiss being such a visual band, when Past asks you about, you know, the best concert, you know, best Kiss Cruise, worst, you always talk about the music. You don't talk about the costumes because, for instance, you know, the Kiss Cruise 4, they were wearing, you know, the suits and, you know, kind of dressed to kill, la la la. So that could be like maybe an interesting one. But you mentioned the music, so that's what I wanted to say. You know, I love it because at the end of the day, it's music, It's
absolutely.
You can put all the stuff around, but it's still music.
I'm glad you're highlighting that because, again, think what I said before. I was out when Eric and Tommy first joined the band, and it was nothing against them. I think they're both great musicians. I am so glad I got over that petty nonsense about the makeup because it is all about the music and the songs and the soundtrack of my life of all of these albums. And even, like I said before, an album like Asylum, that might be the worst. Like I said, I went running 3 weeks ago and I played Asylum while I was running because I was like, it might be the worst, but it still brings me back to a time in my life. It's always about the music to me. Always.
Okay, so here's something different. It's not about the music now.
Okay.
Best merch, worst merch.
I'll start with worst merch. Worst merch is probably, in my mind, the Hello Kitty stuff. But I also realize I'm not the target audience. You know, so I recognize that. And if that did bring in other fans who maybe didn't know who Kiss was, well, then good. But to say I had no interest in that would be an understatement. I really had no interest in Hello Kitty Kiss stuff. Best merch, I mean, that 70s stuff is just so iconic to me. You know, the color forms, the dolls, and that type of stuff.
That pinball machine.
So you know, I would have said the pinball machine, but that wasn't for retail sales, so I wasn't sure if that qualified for you. But, you know, I said before, Pascal, you know, I've sold off a lot of my merch that I've had over the years. The only things I kept is stuff that I had from my childhood, and I literally have an Ace Frehley doll from the 70s with no head. And it doesn't matter to me because that's the one that my grandfather gave me when I was 8 years old. People have offered me, "Do you want a new head?" I think, no, it wouldn't be the one my grandfather gave me. So that stuff is near and dear. But the pinball machine that's right behind me is the only thing that I purchased in the last 10 years that I still own.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my holy grail of Kiss merch.
Oh,
yeah. It's an amazing piece. And I do play it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And one final question. Best meet and greet, least favorite meet and greet.
Boy, no, toss up the best meet and greet. I mean, Gene has been amazing at his meet and greets. And I'll say this, you know, there was one time I took my son and my daughter to a Gene Simmons meet and greet, and we were doing the masterclass the next day. I say to Gene, I said, Gene, go easy on me. Tomorrow I'm playing bass. I don't know how to play bass. He's like, oh, come on, come around. I'll teach you how to play piano right now. It's no different than bass. I don't know why they're no different in his mind, but that's what he said. And he starts giving me a piano lesson. And my son is there, who's like 7 or 8 years old. And he tells my son, come over here. Now I'm going to give you a piano lesson. And he's with us for like 15, 20 minutes, just hanging out, talking with us, giving us a piano lesson, to the point that the woman who works for Gene is like, Gene, you got other people in the room here. You got to kind of start moving this along. And he's like, when I'm done, the next one will come. And I was just like, and it was very similar past to what we were saying early on, which is, Peter Criss would be right up there also. Takes time with the fans, talks, wants to know about you. Those types of meet and greets are just priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Yeah. And least favorite?
I'd probably have to say that Ace Frehley one I referenced earlier in 88.
88.
Yeah, he was just, he might as well have not been there. I don't remember him saying a word. I don't remember him lifting his head up at all to even acknowledge me or anybody else was there. Todd was there. I forget which drummer was in the band at that time. And
Anton?
No, it wasn't Anton. It was one of the other guys. Forgive me, I don't remember. But Todd was there, and who's the bass player? Oh God, how could I forget this?
Regan?
John Regan, right? John Regan. Boy, that was embarrassing. John Regan, super nice, but Ace was just not there.
Have you met him again?
Yes, I've met Ace probably 5 or 6 times since then. Has always been very nice. He's lost a lot of his hearing, so it's tough sometimes that you got to really talk loud. But he's always been very polite since then. But that one time in 88, it was because it was the first KISS member I ever met. I remember going home after waiting online in front of a record store for hours and being disappointed.
Of course, yeah. Hey, Mike. Now we wanna focus more on your show, which, by the way, I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
Congrats! Thank it's amazing. So why did you decide to do such a show?
It started actually in 2012, not the show, but the thought for the show. And a buddy of mine who's sometimes on the show, my buddy Vincent, and I would drive into a KISS Expo, right? And driving to Indianapolis to see Paul Stanley at the KISS Expo. And we're playing KISS songs the whole ride. And we're back and forth. How do you rate the song on a 1 to 10? Oh, I hate this song. I love this song. And he turns to me and goes, we should do a podcast on this. Okay. And I was like, I don't know how to do a podcast. I don't know how to record. I know nothing about it. And I kind of put it to the side. And I also said to him, even at that time, there's so many KISS podcasts, I can't do it any better. And nobody's going to care what I have to say. So, rather not do it. Around the same time, Mitch LaFon, who was on Three Sides of the Coin at the time, had left Three Sides and started doing band interviews. And I saw him interview my daughter's favorite band, Paramore. And I was like, how'd this guy go from a KISS podcast to interviewing the band Paramore? That's kind of cool. And, I've spoke with Mitch online a few times over the years. I'd love to meet him in person, but he was the one that made me think to myself, I could do this. Okay. And I could kind of blend the two ideas together, because I'll never do a strictly KISS podcast as good as all the ones that have already been doing it for years, but I could do that KISS angle. And I could also maybe interview some different musicians, bring the two together, and be a really, 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 really poor man's Eddie Trunk. And I mean really, really, really poor man's Eddie Trunk. Like if he's worth $100, I'm worth a fraction of a penny. Okay, that's what I mean by really poor man. But that was the thought that went through my mind. And I said, maybe I could do that. But it wasn't until 2019, which was 7 years later, that I actually decided I'm going to happen. I'm going to make this happen before it's too late. And I look back and I say, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Well, with your background and your passion for KISS, there's no doubt that the show could have been easily, all about KISS.
Thank you.
But it wasn't, and it isn't these days. You touched on this before. So why did you decide to do such a show on KISS and beyond? And I guess the answer is because of your passion for music, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the great first question you asked me: am I a KISS fan first or a music fan first? Right. I'll always be a KISS fan first, and I knew my podcast would be, 50% KISS. It had to be, right? But if that's all I did, I think I would find it boring again, And I recognize that probably some of the bands that I interview or talk with may not interest everybody, But at the same time, I hope if somebody's watching my show and they say, hey, I like Mike's show, which always blows my mind when people say that, and I appreciate you saying it as well, and they see me interviewing the bass player from the Goo Goo Dolls, which I did once, maybe they'll say, hey, let me check that out a little. Mike's saying they were a punk rock band once. Let me check that out. And they might still hate it, and that's okay. But maybe somebody will check out something they wouldn't have otherwise.
That's right. It's a means of discovering stuff, through your show.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's interesting that you mentioned Mitch Lafon. We interviewed Mitch and Jeremy White early on in our podcast, and we were talking about the challenges of interviewing musicians. What are some of the challenges you had to face?
I've been really, really lucky. It's amazing how many. I figured that these people, when I would interview them, if they tell me, oh, it'll be 4:00, that they show up at 5:15, right? Because that's just the rock star lifestyle. It's amazing to me how prompt these people are, how respectful they are. Somebody like Jeff Tate, I wasn't the biggest Queensryche fan growing up. I had a few of their albums. So nice to me, just incredible. I'd say probably the biggest challenge was more on my side. Okay. As I said before, when I first thought about this, I'm not a techie guy at all. Okay. So somebody said, oh, Mike, you'll use Skype. And my response was, what Skype? Right? That's how little I knew about this. And then it was like, well, how am I going to record it? How do I save it? How do I put it on YouTube? How do you get them onto a podcast? I had 1,000 questions that I didn't know even where to begin with these kind of things. That to me was probably a bigger challenge. And then I didn't know for interviews, how do I reach out to these people? I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, yeah, Brad Gillis, I'd like to do an interview with you today. Is that okay? How do I find the contacts? And those were probably the biggest challenges. The celebrities themselves it's amazing how nice and great they've been.
I agree with Claudia. I've seen several of your episodes and I just love them. And I didn't see just the Kiss ones. I've seen other ones as well. And, although, yes, I'm a Kiss fan, I'm interested in other musical stories, how the band got on the scene and their trials and tribulations. I find that so interesting. Even rock documentaries. I just love it, even if I'm not a fan of the band.
Agreed. I'm the same way.
And you say you're a poor man's Eddie Trunk. Absolutely not, because you get amazing guests on your show.
Thank you.
And if your show didn't have credibility, these guests would say no. And you have, I'm floored. I'm floored.
Me too.
That you have on your show. It's amazing.
I appreciate that. Really. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I have to ask you, have you ever interviewed guests that your daughter is a fan of? Because she must trip when you do that.
Yeah. You know what? I've tried. I actually tried to get some of the guys from Paramore on the band because I always bust my daughter's chops. I got her into Paramore. Right. They opened up. They opened up for No Doubt in 2009, and I was taking my daughter to see No Doubt, and I was like, oh, this band with a girl singer, she's gonna like them. And I downloaded some of the songs, and it became her favorite band. So I never let her forget that. But it's been a little tougher to get some of the newer modern artists on. So probably I've tried My Chemical Romance and got zero response on that. So, hey, maybe one day, who knows? But, she is a Kiss fan, so I can count that.
There you go.
And what are some of your favorite interviews that you've done?
Jeff Tate was great. Again, and I'm not the biggest Queensryche fan. I like Queensryche, but he was absolutely amazing. For me, when I interviewed Steve Whiteman from Kix, I grew up a big Kix fan in the late 80s, early 90s, and he is such an incredible frontman. I noticed, Kix is one of these bands people, some love him, some don't. He's on my screen. I'm talking to him like, holy crap, if 1989 they knew that I'd be talking to Steve Whiteman right now. But, I'm a huge Night Ranger fan. So when I interviewed Kelly Keagy and Brad Gillis, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. But I have to tell you guys, Dee Snider was still one of my favorites. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. That went through his publicist. And, when you go through the publicist, they tell you, you have X number of time. And the publicist had said to me, Dee gives 20 minutes for each of his interviews, and he sets them up like the top and the bottom of every hour. So you have 20 minutes. It gives him 5-10 minutes to catch his breath and then start the next one. But if he's having fun, he'll tell you can go a little longer.
Okay.
So I'm expecting I'm getting my 20 minutes, right? Because I'm Mike Brun and I'm not Eddie Trunk or whatever. So about 5-7 minutes into the first interview with him, and he says to me, oh, by the way, we go to the bottom of the hour. And I was just like to myself, I was playing all cool on the video. I'm like, yes, yes, these guys having fun talking with me. You know? And to me, I'll never forget that. That was like so cool because again, anybody watching would have no clue what he meant by that. But
Right.
I knew that he was saying to me, I'm having fun doing this. I'll give you the extra time. I was like, that's freaking cool. So
Wow, that says
that
a
sticks
lot.
out to me. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Hey, Mike, you did speaking of celebrities, you did an amazing interview with Paul Stanley, right? So can I ask you how you managed to get him for an interview?
Yeah, I love this story. Although, yeah, I'll be honest, I've only told maybe 2 or 3 people this story, and close friends. So you guys are going to get a little bit of an exclusive with
Nice.
this story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
You know, so many people think I got Paul Stanley because of the different meet and greets I did, and I know this one who works for the band, not at all, not one bit. In fact, nobody who works for the band has ever even acknowledged that I interviewed Paul Stanley. And I don't say that in a negative way. They're far too busy to be worried about what Mike Brunn's doing, right? And they know me, but you know, Bruce Kulick acknowledged it, though. I have to say, Bruce Kulick messaged me that day. Great interview. What a score. It just says what a great guy he is.
Mm-hmm.
But how did I get Paul Stanley? It started in December of 2019. And I reached out to Kiss's publicist team to say, hey, would Gene Simmons want to come on the show to promote the Dubai concert? The fact that they're selling the streaming and all of that, maybe he'll want to, try to push that. And they said, yes, he's interested. And I said, all right, I got Gene.
Wow.
This is going to be great. Fast forward a week or two, we're trying to set up a time, and it works out that he's too busy. They're in rehearsals. I think he was in the process of moving. He'll do it when he gets back. Okay, not a problem. Gets back from Dubai, still busy, yada, 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 trying to figure out a time for it to work. All of a sudden, one day they send me an email. Mike, quote, would you mind interviewing Paul Stanley instead? I mind. Paul Stanley to me is Kiss. Paul Stanley was my guy in the 80s. He's written all the songs I love. Would I mind?
Can you imagine you say, no, not Paul,
I'm really holding out for Gene instead. So once they sent that email, it happened within 2 or 3 days from the time I got that email to the time I had him on the show, where it just and I didn't tell anybody. I told my wife, and I told my friend Vin, who's sometimes on the show with me, and no one else.
Hey,
no
Mike,
one.
Were you nervous?
It's funny because people ask me if I was nervous. Again, think about what I said before. My biggest challenge is technology.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I think every interview I did was on Skype. And I knew at this point, I'd done about 80 to 100 things. I knew how to use Skype. Paul's team wanted to use Zoom. Far from me to say no.
Right.
I had to download Zoom. Now I got to figure out how to record. Is it going to work? Is the file going to save? I was a nervous wreck about that because it was the first time I ever used it. Now, it's funny because now I only use Zoom, and somebody asked me to use Skype maybe like 3 months ago, and I was like, I don't remember how to use it. but that's what made me nervous. Not interviewing Paul Stanley, because at the end of the day, I was like, there's 20 minutes. We're going to talk about Soul Station. I'll try to get some Kiss questions in there, but if I mess up something, I'll edit it out. Nobody will ever know.
Right. Exactly.
So I wasn't nervous, except I was so nervous. I hope it's recording. I hope it's saving. Like that's the technology part was what drove me crazy.
So how was Paul as an interviewee?
Look, he's a total pro, right? He knows what he's doing. Far be it that I'm not his first interview, or he's probably done hundreds since then. I loved, at one point I asked him the connection between Soul Station and Kiss. And he starts singing some Kiss songs, like shout out loud, and he's like showing the connection. He was just so cool and treated me as if I was, somebody from Fox News or CNN or any of the big stations. It didn't matter that I was Mike Brunn, sitting in my house doing it. He treated me with the utmost respect, and it was just a blast to interview him.
Wow. So you actually we went through most of the milestones in your history, from when you were 6 years old, looking at that poster. How did you feel interviewing Paul?
I hung up, and again, I only told my wife and my friend Vinny. I didn't even tell my kids and my daughter, who's a Kiss fan. All I told my daughter is, I'm going to be on the phone with somebody for a half hour. Just leave me alone. Don't yell to me or anything. And then I posted like a 15-second clip on Facebook. Just say, hey, and that's how my daughter found out. And she comes running down to me. You were interviewing Paul Stanley? And that's when it hit me. I'm like, Yeah, I was interviewing Paul Stanley. Holy crap. I was interviewing Paul Stanley. And the funny thing is, when I started my podcast, my buddy Vincent used to say to me all the time, "You think you get Paul Stanley?" Never. I said, Paul doesn't do podcasts. He doesn't do anything like I said, Gene, maybe some of the other guys. Paul, never. A 0% chance of it happening. Of course, I don't live that comment down now. Anytime he asks me, "Hey, do you think you get so-and-so?" I'm like, no. He's like, "You say that about Paul Stanley." So, it was a dream come true, except it was not even something that I even dreamt was possible. How about that?
And you mentioned Gene before, but have you attempted to interview some of the other members of the band?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Vinnie Vincent on a couple of times, as I think a lot of Kiss fans probably know. I've had Bruce on a couple of times. I've spoke with Ace's team once or twice, so maybe the next album cycle I'll be able to get him.
Okay.
But really Bruce and Vinny and Paul are the only official Kiss members that I've been able to get on the show so far.
Okay. Love it.
Just a couple more questions before we wrap up.
Sure.
So, you said how excited you were about interviewing Paul. What would be your holy grail interview and why?
Ooh. Well, so on the Kiss side, I'd love to get Peter Criss. Love to, because he doesn't do anything. And I've had some communication with, I guess, his wife, but I'd also love to get Tommy Thayer, but outside of Kiss's management. I want to get Tommy Thayer one-on-one where I could ask all the questions I want. But if it's not Kiss, again, kind of going to my different kind of musical interests I have, I would love, never going to happen. I'd love to get I'd love, no doubt. Great. I would love to. Yes. It's never going to happen, but I'd love that. I'd love to get John Lydon from the Sex Pistols. I'd probably be, you asked me before if I was scared to interview Paul Stanley. I'd be scared to death to interview John Lydon because he's a rude, obnoxious person. But that would be a great challenge as somebody doing an interview. And I'd love to interview Sammy Hagar. The guy just seems like he has fun with everything. So much fun. And that's what, to me, the show and music is about, fun. And Sammy Hagar. So those would be the three. Pascal would be at the top of my list. Like, man, those would be dream come true to get them.
Have you tried, or will you try to get them?
I have tried. I've never tried John Lydon or Johnny Rotten, depending on because I'm too scared.
Give it a shot.
Come on, give it a shot. That's right.
Yeah. I don't know how much you guys know his personality. Again, I was a big Sex Pistols fan. He is direct, abrasive, and I love that side of his personality, but I don't know if I can handle that as somebody doing an interview. So maybe one day I'll try. We'll see.
Of course.
Yeah, you might be surprised. You may be surprised. So one final question. What are your thoughts about all the Kiss podcasts out there?
It goes back to why I didn't start mine originally, because there's so many out there, and I think they do such a great job. I love what you guys do, highlighting fans and all of that.
Thank you.
To me, the podcasts today replaced the fanzines in the late 80s and early 90s, right? And so it's just the current version of fanzines to me. I love what the podcasts do. I think it's a great way for fans to connect. I wish there was a little bit more like this, some more camaraderie between the podcasts. I've known Mark Cicchini for 35 years. He was on my show, a long time friend of mine. I wish there was more things like that where the Kiss podcasts, connected with each other, because I just think it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great way for fans to connect with each other. And I encourage anybody who thinks about doing it, don't be a Mike Brunn. Don't be scared and wait 7 years. Do it. I remember, past when you said you were thinking about doing this, my first comment I made to you was, do it. Just do it. Just go for it. Don't be afraid to do it, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't think nobody's going to care, nobody's going to watch. So what? Just have fun. Just have fun with it. So I think they're great. I love them.
Exactly. Mike, we were saying at the beginning that it's all about creating memories, and to me, and believe me, this night tonight, this hour that we spent together, it's really special to me. So I wanted to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, to be part of the show. We never had the chance to meet, but we will in the cruise. I can't wait to shake your hand and have a couple of drinks. And it's been awesome. Thank you for sharing all your stories and your experiences. It's all about that. So once again, thanks to Kiss, meeting people like you. So thank you so much.
No, and thank you both for inviting me. This is a lot of fun. I love doing these. I just love talking Kiss and talking music. So, and I love what you guys do. So thank you guys for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I love talking Kiss, but I love talking Kiss fans even more, And you've done so much in your Kissdom with your show and the meet and greets, and we see all of your posts online. You've done so much. But what's fantastic about a show like this is getting to meet the person behind all those experiences and getting, firsthand knowledge of where that passion comes from. And with you, that passion comes through the screen so easily. And I think
thank you.
It's what I really enjoy about this show. Like you said, it's the fan profiles. It's talking to fans with a passion and their experiences. And we live through your eyes, through the fans' eyes. I hope fans like us enjoy as much as we do. So thanks again for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a blast.
It really was. Thank you. So to the Kiss Army,
Thanks.
If you want to get involved with the Kiss Army Nation podcast, send us your comments, questions, or ideas to talk to me at kissarmynationpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, Automatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.